France, and we can find out more from Simon Taylor.
The last outing for the FIA GTs was at Hockenheim, and Mercedes-Benz made it 3 out of 3, with Schneider and Mark Webber leading home a Stuttgart 1-2 in the new lightweight V8 car. For Porsche, the weekend was a light. This was Uwe Altsen's accident when he was going for 3rd place. Happily, he was unhurt, but all the works Porsches hit trouble, although Nish salvaged a single point by finishing 6th. Here in France, on the twisty little Dijon circuit, the Mercedes have again qualified at the front, with championship leaders Schneider and Webber just ahead of teammates Ludwig and Zonta. But Uwe Altsen and Jörg Müller are 3rd quickest in their Porsche, with Alan McNish and Yannick Dalmas 5th. And the thunderous Paynos of David Brabham and Eric Bernard is on row 4, hoping to repeat its podium at Hockenheim. So the two silver lead the rolling grid round to the start line with Altsen's Porsche, blue Persson Mercedes of Christophe Bouchou on row 2, and they're away. Schneider immediately going into the lead. Schneider ahead of Ludwig as they go down to the first corner. It's Christophe Bouchou in 3rd in the blue Mercedes. Then it's Uwe Altsen, Yannick Dalmas, Gounod in the 2nd blue Mercedes, and the Paynos there in 7th place. That's Eric Bernard that sweeps behind the pits. And this wonderful little Dijon circuit, it's the two silver arrows in front. Schneider from Ludwig, Bouchou, Mercedes 1, 2, 3, then the two Porsches of Altsen and Dalmas, and the rest of the field strung out as they come into the tight uphill hairpin. Jean-Marc Gounod in 6th place in the 2nd of the two blue Mercedes. Then it's Eric Bernard in the silver Paynos, and behind, battling for 8th place, the two Porsches. They're side by side as they come down the hill. Sandy Grau shutting out Michael Bartels and holding on to his 8th place. It's only the first lap, and they're already battling very close indeed. There are the two white and blue Vipers in 1st and 2nd place in the important GT2 category. Remember this, like all the rounds of the FIA GT Championship, 2 in 1 for the GT1 cars and the GT2s, which are much more in production trim. Mercedes, and Porsche complete the first lap with already Bernd Schneider pulling out. The silver car with the yellow mirrors is Bernd Schneider's leading Mercedes, and look at this lead he's got already on the 2nd lap. Schneider absolutely charging, building up a huge cushion over the pursuit, while his teammate Ludwig keeps the rest of them back. We've already got a customer in the pits, Bruno Eichmann's GT2 911 Porsche. They're topping it up with fuel, but I don't think that's why it came in. It must have some sort of problem as we look at the red mirrored number 2 Mercedes in 2nd place. That's Klaus Ludwig, with Christophe Bouchou in the blue car in 3rd place, and the Porsches behind him with Uwe Altsen leading Yannick Dalmas, and the Paynos already on their tail. The Paynos up to 6th place. Jean-Marc Gounod has yielded 6th place to the silver front-engined American Paynos. Then Porsches, Uwe Altsen, the car with the yellow splashes on the front, and the red splashes are on the front of its teammate, driven by the Frenchman Yannick Dalmas. That's the car that will be shared later in the by Alan McNish, the Le Mans winning Scot, who is very much at the sharp end of this works Porsche team. Yet to have any real success in the FIA GT Championship rounds, however. There's the Paynos, front engine, big pushrod V8 American engine, almost a vintage car in this exotic company, but Eric Bernard really pushing on, going round the outside of one of the little 911 Porsches there, and closing on the cars in front, charging along in that grumbling, thunderous Paynos, and Uwe Altsen trying to go round the outside of the back marker. Bouchou is being overwhelmed by the two Porsches. Look at Dalmas going through on the outside. Dalmas has made up 2 places, and they're so close as they cross the start-finish line, but in all of that, Yannick Dalmas has gone ahead of Bouchou's Porsche, and Altsen has been the back of that little group. He's now being pushed by the Paynos. A tremendous 4-car battle going on there for 3rd place. The man who's got 3rd place now is Yannick Dalmas. Bouchou is 4th. In 5th place, it's Uwe Altsen, and the Paynos is 6th, but pushing Altsen very hard indeed. It's very twisty, it's narrow. We're seeing it again. Altsen pushed right off to the side of the road, and as he does so, Yannick Dalmas takes an opportunist move down the right-hand side of the road and finds himself in 3rd place. Still the two silver Mercedes, 1st and 2nd. Schneider, Ludwig, Dalmas's Porsche now 3rd. Bouchou's blue Mercedes 4th. Uwe Altsen in 5th place. There's Bouchou in 4th. Vadim Alsen and Bernard in the Pénos. And then in 7th place, it's Jean-Marc Gounon in the second of the two blue Mercedes, with Sandy Grau in 8th place in the green speed Porsche. And there is the Gt Speed Porsche using Pirelli tyres, incidentally. The Gt Speed cars run on Pirellis, the Works Porsches run on Michelin. They seem to have the edge as we have the Pénos ahead of Alsen. Uwe Alsen has lost a further place because the Pénos has passed Porsche and is now breathing down on Christophe Bouchou. There is Bouchou. There is the Pénos now in 5th place with Uwe Alsen behind in 6th. As the brake lights go on, they queue up behind one of the little GT2 Porsches. It's very tight and twisty round circuit at Dijon, and you have to pick your way past the cars. And look at Bernard going one side then the other as he tries to get past that little GT2 Porsche. He does so a bit, almost giving Uwe a chance to get his 5th place, but Bernard was quick enough to shut the door. And as they go away up the hill again through that long left-hander, we ride now with Klaus Ludwig's second-placed car, and he too is having his troubles with the traffic. Klaus Ludwig in the second-place Mercedes, weaving his way through these 911s, which are themselves working as hard as they can. The man in front with locking brakes and opposite lock, but moves away to the left of the track, and Klaus Ludwig is able to go through the right-hander over the brow and on now to the start-finish straight to complete another lap. That's Ludwig in second place. Both Ludwig and Schneider, the leader, using the latest V8 lightweight CLK Mercedes, as opposed to the heavier earlier cars, the blue Person cars, which use the big V12 engine. And we've got the 4th place Person blue V12 Mercedes coming into lane now. That's Christophe Bouchou coming in for his first routine stop, and his co-driver Bernd Mailander ready, but I don't think he's going to get in the other blue one here as well, because in now has come Jean-Marc Gounon as well, both the blue Mercedes in at once. A lot of work going on in the Person pit. Marcel Thiemann also not taking over. There's the Marcos running in 3rd place in GT behind the two Vipers, with the Pénos about to cut up. Two big front-engine V8s, the GT2 Marcos, the GT1 Pénos, and the Pénos goes past the multicoloured Marcos as into the pits now comes the lead Viper. The leading Viper is in the pit lane. Olivier Beretta has just brought that car in. He and his co-driver Pedro Lamy have been dominating GT1 this year. There's Beretta out, and Pedro Lamy, the Portuguese, squeezes himself in over those big protective tubes at the side of this cockpit, and we see a GT1 Porsche gobbling up a GT. That is the Uwe Alsen car, and you have an idea of speed. But his two cars, both of them rear engine. One you can buy in a showroom, one you certainly can't. And Eric Bernard brings the Pénos for its routine stop. David Brabham will be waiting, and we've got the leader in, Bernd Schneider. Bernd Schneider staying in the cockpit. They're refueling. Now, they're not allowed to start on the tyres until they finish the refueling. That's what the rules say. So as soon as fueling is finished, then the mechanics by the wheels can start undoing the wheels and getting the fresh rubber on. The fuel's going in, and in now we've got Uwe Alsen's car. Uwe Alsen being refueled as well, and Jörg Müller getting into that car. And so all of that means that Klaus Ludwig in the silver Mercedes with the red mirrors is now in the lead. He has yet to make his first pit stop, as Bernd Schneider's car is almost completed down here in the pits. Klaus Ludwig on his way, and Yannick Dalmas is not far behind him in second place in the Porsche. Headlights blazing, the Mercedes and the Porsche go through. Off the now comes Schneider's car. It's got its fresh rubber. Bernd Schneider has stayed aboard. Mark Webber doesn't get to work in the cockpit. And out of the pit lane comes Bernd Schneider, the current leader in the FIA GT Championship. Behind him out comes Jörg Müller in the Uwe Alsen Porsche as well. But we've got Ludwig's Mercedes now leading. Yannick Dalmas's Porsche in second place by virtue of the fact that neither of them have yet made their first routine stop. There, with the yellow mirrors, is Bernd Schneider. And Schneider, now with fresh rubber and fresh fuel aboard, settle down to his second stint and really start entering to rebuild the lead that... Oh, a little twitch there from Schneider on his new tyres, which perhaps aren't quite up to operating temperature yet. There's the Chamberlain, which Gary Ailes will be driving later in the race, and some running repairs to one of the GT2 Porsches. That's the Neugarten car, which seems to have some problems underneath, a loose under tray perhaps. And Klaus Ludwig in the pit lane. We ride Klaus Ludwig as he brings the leading number 2 Mercedes into this narrow pit lane, and he's got to go all the way down to the far end of it, which is where the Mercedes can be. A mechanic waiting with the board to show him where he's got to go. There is the mechanic with the board. He's going to swing in to park the car there. He does so. He's got to stop on his point. Bonk. Yes, he does. He's stopped, and now the car is being refueled already. They're cleaning the windscreen. The other mechanic ready with the tyres, but they mustn't start them yet. And in gets Ricardo Zonta. So Ricardo Zonta takes over from Klaus Ludwig, who helps him with the belts. The fuel now almost completed, and the door is shut. Interesting that they have changed drivers, although Schneider is doing a double stint, and still the fuel being finished. A lot of fuel. Now the fuel is finished, so they're going to change the tyres. They're not going to change the tyres. They've started. It's gone straight out without a tyre change. Schneider didn't change drivers, did change rubber. Ludwig did change drivers, didn't change rubber. So differing strategies between the two Silver Arrows. We watch Jorg Muller in the number 8 Porsche. Jorg Muller settling into his first stint. Very rapid Formula 3000 driver in previous seasons. A very quick German is Jorg Muller. And we've got the number 7 Porsche in the pit lane. After a brief moment of glory, Yannick Dalmas has been leading because he's the last one of the front runners to stop. Yannick Dalmas has the door open. Dalmas getting out, and Alan McNish ready to clamber aboard. Alan McNish, the Le Mans winner, waiting to get into that number 7 Porsche. But meanwhile, all of those stops have, of course, put this car, the silver Mercedes with the yellow mirrors, back into the lead. Bernd Schneider on his second stint. The car nodding as it goes over the bumps under braking here at Dijon and goes sweeping through the long downhill S-bend section that follows the start-finish straight. Bernd Schneider, lots of fuel on board, a fresh set of tyres, and he's absolutely flying. He's got the lead back, and the amazing thing is Schneider's confidence and commitment through these back markers. Now he's got a couple of 911s in front of him, and those 911s are having their own battle. I don't know if they know the leader is behind them. They're side by side. Schneider just goes off the circuit to the right, squirts with the great power of the V8 Mercedes past them, and the two Porsches carry on with their little battle as though absolutely nothing had happened. So Mercedes 1-2 here at Dijon, leads from Zonta, but Alan McNish in that Porsche is in third place. He's looking good. They're still battling away at Dijon. This is the fight for 7th place between Jean-Marc Gounod's Mercedes and Armin Harder in the green Zaxby Porsche, which was started in this race by Michael Bartels. And the Mercedes doesn't seem to be particularly happy in the handling department. They're going right over the curbs in Armin Harder's effort to grapple with the big V12 Mercedes. They back markers in front of them, and this may give Armin Harder his chance. Headlights ablaze. Two GT1 cars come over the brow, and Armin Harder tucked in behind the blue Mercedes. They're coming over the start-finish line now. Harder has a little look at the inside, and Gounod crossed to keep the door shut. Harder almost pushed right off the road there as the two of them lap one of the GT1 Porsche 911s, and still the Mercedes leads down the hill. More traffic ahead of them. The French privately owned McLaren keeps well over to the right of the road as the two of them go through, and one of the little 911s being almost off the track completely as the Paynos now catches up with them. This is David Brabham in the silver Paynos. He's taken over from Eric Bernard, and he is a lap ahead of the two cars in front of him, battling over 7th place, the Mercedes and the Porsche. Paynos comes over the brow as a locked wheel there from Jean-Marc Gounod. Shows that he's starting to feel from the Porsche behind him, and the Paynos getting closer. The Paynos running now in 5th place, and the two cars in front of him battling for 7th, and now the Porsche goes through on the inside. Surely, yes, he's done it. Bartels elbows through on the inside at last, instantly moves away as the Paynos now goes through, and Jean-Marc Gounod goes very, very wide, and the Paynos splits the battling two. Up into 7th place now goes Armin Harder in V Porsche, but Gounod is fighting back, tries to go through with the Paynos. That's an old trick. If the car in front of you is about to be lapped by a car, tuck in visibly behind it and try and follow it through. But now the Mercedes has lost a bit of momentum, and as the Pénards goes ahead to gobble up Armin Haber, so Gounod now has a problem from the privately entered French run 1997 GT1 Porsche, driven today by Bob Wallach, the great veteran of sports car racing from France. And Gounod now has to keep the door very firmly shut on the right-hand side of the road, because the lumbering GT1 1997 Porsche is absolutely alongside him as they come into the brow. Again, the Mercedes is on the inside, and Jean-Marc Gounod going wide, but even wider goes the GT1 Porsche. That's given Jean-Marc Gounod just a little bit of breathing space, but I suspect not for very long. We see it again, Gounod coming on the brakes, locks up a front wheel as he goes into that left-hander, then the Porsche locks up a front wheel too, and as the Mercedes slides, so the Porsche slides even wider and over the curves. Now this is Nish, 7 Porsche, the GT1 8 Porsche of Alan McNish, currently in 3rd place behind the 2 Silver Arrows Mercedes. Alan McNish doing an excellent job, very smooth, very determined through the back markers, and running in a strong 3rd place. He's got the Pénards ahead of him, about to be lapped, and leader in the pit lane. Bernd Schneider bringing the number 1 Mercedes into the pit lane. He's done a double stint, so now surely he will hand over to his Australian co-driver Mark Webber. Yes, Mark Webber clambering. He's a tall figure and he squeezes into that car, helped by Bernd Schneider, who helps him with the seat belts. They're cleaning the windscreen, they're refueling the car, they are changing the tyres, so his 3rd set of rubber in this race. Meanwhile, Ricardo Zonta goes by to take the number 2 Mercedes, temporarily anyway, to the lead, while Schneider and Webber await. Webber waiting to take that car back into the race. The front tyres are done, it's off the jacks, they started up, and away goes Mark Webber. Mark Webber goes back to the race. Now, in 2nd place, no, now in place, because there's McNish. McNish having a big weave as he comes over the start-finish line, and out in 3rd place now comes the Mercedes with the yellow mirrors. That's Bernd Schneider. Alan McNish, therefore, splitting the 2 Silver Arrows at the moment. Of course, he has a pit stop to come soon. Behind him, on the road, but actually a full lap down in 5th place, is David in the Pénards. So Alan McNish in 6th. Now, the Pénards puff and flame from its exhaust pipe as David comes off the power, hits the brakes to go in that tight uphill right-hander. Now we're seeing a replay of Arna's moment. He's just come into the pit lane, locked up in the pit lane, and had an accident, crashing sideways into the barriers. I don't think he's done much damage to the car. I think he's going to be able to carry on, but that's a bad mistake by Arna. And here's McNish. McNish coming in. This is the 2nd routine stop for the number 7 Porsche. McNish will hand back over to Dalmas. Brief 2nd place, but the car running securely in the top. And as McNish comes in, I can see the number 8 Porsche coming slowly towards the pit lane. Alan McNish leaps out of number 7. Yannick Dalmas is helped in. They're refueling the number 7 car, which seems to be perfectly healthy. Clunking in comes number 8, Jörg Muller at the wheel, and I would guess that that race is run. On goes the new rubber onto the Yannick Dalmas Alan McNish car, and when back in the race it should still have its 3rd place. Yes, it's fired up and away. Back into 3rd place goes Yannick Dalmas in the car he's sharing with Alan McNish, and pushed away number 8 car. And now we've got a problem for the leader. The leading car is going very slow. He's got a puncture. The rear left tyre is punctured. Now what happened here? The car has spun. Mark Webber going backwards off. Oh, and he hit the barrier too. Number 1 Mercedes, the leading car, has hit the barriers. It's got a left rear tyre, and Mark Webber is nursing that car on a wheel rim all the way back, most of a lap, to get it back to the pits. It's now back in the pits, moving that damaged rear wheel. It comes off in 2 pieces, and Mark Webber sitting impatiently in the cockpit. Mercedes mechanics swimming all over the car. They've got a new left rear on it, but the rear bodywork is damaged, and I would think they're going to have to replace that as well. There's Bernd Schneider going up to open the door and have a quick word. No, he's just making sure the door's shut. He gave a little wave at Mark Webber through the window. There's the new rear bodywork ready to go on, but a lot of work going on to that car. It's lost the lead. And now the leader, therefore, is the sole surviving silver V8 Mercedes of Klaus Ludwig and Ricardo Zonta. There he is with the red mirrors, with Zonta in the lead, and that's promoted Yannick Dalmas and Alan McNish to second place. The Paynos is now in third place. The old-style V2 Mercedes, the pair of blue car in fourth and fifth places, and the Zaxby Porsche sixth and seventh. Despite that moment for Armin Harmer's car, their car still in sixth place. And incidentally, the Vipers are still doing a grand job leading the GT1 category as we ride with Ricardo Zonta. His windscreen none too this late in the race. He's following GT1 Porsche ahead of him, one of the two Vipers, the Oreca Vipers that have been dominating GT2 throughout this. And interesting, Zonta is very cautious through these back markers at the moment. He's not past the Viper even now. Now he goes alongside it and ahead of it. Zonta has such a big lead over the McNish-Dalmas Porsche that this is the race. The last thing he wants to do is to have an accident. The Bernd Schneider car, incidentally, which Mark Webber had that spin with when a rear tyre went down, hasn't rejoined the race. They did a lot of work on the car in the pits, but has now been withdrawn. So Ricardo Zonta has the responsibility of the Works Mercedes team entirely on his shoulders at the moment. There is the GT2 leading Viper. That's the car of Olivier Beretta and Pedro Lamy, and it looks clean and shiny and absolutely unsought just on a Sunday afternoon drive. And these two Vipers have been fast and so reliable throughout this season. GT2, big V10 8-litre engine under the bonnet of that car, but it's not that different from the Viper. There's the other one, the two of them going round together, not that different from the sort of car that you can drive to the shops and take to the supermarket. Zonta once more coming down the long straight, and once more being very cautious with the track. Got a gaggle of 911 Porsches ahead of him, goes past one of them and then tucks in behind the next one as he starts his lap. Brazilian Ricardo Zonta, the reigning Formula 3000 champion, incidentally, who's made a tremendous start to a GT racing career with the Mercedes Works team, now on his final lap. Bernd Schneider out, and Ricardo Zonta and Klaus Ludwig, therefore, on their way to win this race in the sole surviving V8 Mercedes. Headlights still on, hoping that the 911s ahead of him are going to look in their mirrors as he goes steeply up the hill, squirts up the inside of one of them. Meanwhile, Alan McNish and Yannick Dalmas in a magnificent second place in their Porsche Dalmas car at the moment. That's going to be the best performance for the Works Porsche team so far this year in the FIA GT Championship, and indeed will be Alan McNish's first podium in this class. But of course, don't forget, he did get on the podium, on the top step of the podium, in the Le Mans 24-hour race this year. And so the final lap being reeled off by Ricardo Zonta. The checkered flag is waiting for him as he goes over the final, and there the checkered flag waves. Another Mercedes victory. Klaus Ludwig cheers him home. Alan McNish and Yannick Dalmas finish second for Porsche, and a great third place for Paynos, for Eric Bernard and for David Brabham.
So here's confirmation of the result. Mercedes really starting to run away with things. Alan McNish and Yannick Dalmas playing their best finish of the season. The Paynos again is third. The bad news for Bernd Schneider and Mark Webber is that their failure to finish hands the lead in the Drivers' Championship to today's winners Klaus Ludwig and Ricardo Zonta. Next, the series moves on to Hungary. Some Formula 3
on the front row. It's a 1-2. Let's find out how they got there from Simon Taylor.
Well, qualifying here yesterday would have done credit to a Formula 1 session. The closing minutes, this was the very talented Alan McNish on a superbly smooth, committed lap in the new GT1 Porsche. Schneider's 1:29.86 to beat as Alan comes through the final right-hander. The seconds are ticking away. Is it going to be a Porsche on pole? He crosses the line, the watch stops at 1:29.51, and that puts McNish on pole position. But not for long. Here's Ricardo Zonta's final effort in the number 2 Mercedes, which was another 2/5 quicker. And checkered flag came. Reigning champion Bernd Schneider restored law and order and dipped under 1:29 to get the pole position back, to the absolute delight of Mercedes.